Welcome back. This is Hope at Dawn, right here at Hope TV, where you look and live. Time for the newspaper review. My name is George Kishoro.
And my name is Beatrice Nudi. And definitely, this is a big day. I'm seeing here,
what's happening?
Defense of Justice is the top story here. And the Chief Justice yesterday came out guns blazing, saying police were out to intimidate judges after the court found their boss guilty of contempt and sentenced him. While being just for the police is what is required of them, the CJ said they are turning rogue. This is a story on page 4. And Martha Koome, the Chief Justice here, saying the act of withdrawing the security of a sitting judge following a judicial decision that displeased certain authorities is deeply concerning. This deliberate and punitive measure represents a direct assault on judicial independence. Maura Kabata, on the other side, LSK Vice President, saying judicial independence is a cornerstone of justice for all Kenyans. The National Police Service, as a key state actor, has a constitutional obligation to comply with the law. This is a story well covered on the Standard, and that is on page 4. Moving on, I don't
actually,
know if you have
it's the same story, and actually the headline on the Daily Nation, and they say rogue police boss. That is the headline. Intimidation. Police chief has been ignoring court summons over missing men. Faces of impunity. Acting Inspector General Gilbert Masengeli has come under attack for his brazen tit-for-tat response, in which the top policeman withdrew the security of a judge who jailed him for contempt of court. CJ Martha Koome, the judiciary, and the senior lawyers have condemned the latest affront to the independence of the judiciary. It's a story covered on page 2, and yes, a quote here attributed to the CJ Martha Koome, who was addressing the press yesterday. These deliberate and punitive measure represents a direct assault on judicial independence, an affront to the rule of law, and a violation of the principles enshrined in our Constitution. And so you can read that story on page 2. And I don't know the end game of what the National Police Service is trying to achieve with this, because it does not actually endear them. It actually continues to paint them in very bad light.
True.
Yeah, as a rogue institution, one that does not obey the law that they are actually supposed to be enforcing, because they are the law enforcement body. So if they cannot enforce the law, then where are we headed as a nation? And for me, what pains me is when the top leadership said that they will not allow the criminal justice system to be used for political reasons, but then again, seeing what's happening, it's unfortunate, but that's the situation. Page 2.
Yes, and some people may be asking themselves, Masengeli, kwani amefanya nini? But let me just take us through this. Masengeli was first summoned on August 26th. This is to explain the whereabouts of brothers Jamil Longton and Aslam Longton, who were kidnapped in Kitengela, Kajiado County, and Bob Jange, who was picked up from Kitengela-bound Matatu in Mlolongo, August the 19th. So he refused to turn up in court and ended up defying 7 court orders, with the last one being one on September 9th, when the judge set for his sentencing last Friday. And on the same day, the judge summoned Opicho to appear during the sentencing of Masengeli, where he decried spying and intimidation tactics from Opicho. So definitely it's been quite something. I mean, 7 times. And this... Actually,
I think the judge was even lenient, giving him 7 times.
7 times, It's crazy. And the worst thing about this, it involves people.
Yeah, actually, you see, as you said, it involves families. So, we are just focusing on contempt of court and but the case behind it, for me, is actually even more weighty. We have 3 families who do not know where their kins are.
And kwanza wengine hapo ni
brothers. Two are brothers.
What is even running in the minds of this family? And this person is just defying court, not appearing. But these are people who want answers. They're people who want to know what happened. Why would you defy court if you have nothing to worry about?
Yeah.
So it's definitely a big problem. And This is a story on page 4, and you guys can go and have a look at it in more detail. But of course, we pray that justice, just like you are preaching today, justice for the wicked will definitely be served. But this is something else, page 5, and I don't know why we are still here, but anyway, blame fake news, Ruto says of protests. Speaking to a German news outlet, the president says it was misinformation that fanned the Gen Z demos, saying they stopped once it was corrected. This is, and I think I saw that interview, you know, just a few days ago. I feel like it was a lady who was interviewing.
Yeah, there was a lady.
Yes, I actually did look at that. And it was very calm and speaking, almost like they're just in a chamber and no one will see the conversation. But this is crazy. It says that President tells world demos stopped when Kenyans discovered the misinformation. He defended police brutality, saying the officers needed to protect the innocent. But how do you protect the innocent?
By killing.
By killing over, I think the numbers were spiraling above 60.
60 was the official number. But still we have families that do not yet know. From then, they have never seen their kin. They have never seen their loved ones. So where are they, you know?
How do you defend the innocent by killing others?
You can't.
You can't. It makes no sense, because if it was defending the innocent, then utatumia other tactics, other ways, but you will not be throwing false and stray bullets.
And everyone, Beatrice, we were here, everyone, both local and international, we saw there was no violence up until police came to the fore, up until politicians paid goons to infiltrate these protests. That is when things went south. But from the onset, these were peaceful people agitating for their rights, calling for good governance, calling for transparency and accountability. So on this one, Mr. President, I think also there is no misinformation.
There was no, and people probably just stopped, and especially when ile unauliza tu watu like an Uber guy, are you guys coming out? And they're like, hey, tangu walete goons. Now we are afraid because you will be out there. You don't know if the police are going to shoot you. So it was actually out of the fear of knowing, even if we do this, nothing is really materializing and people are still losing their lives. Unajua unaweza enda usafishe rada, lakini watu wanajua ukweli. So definitely, I am sure this will agitate the people even more, because you see here, only weak men raise taxes. There is no misinformation about that. Then if it was misinformation, why did he actually rule out the Finance Bill 2024?
If it was misinformation.
If it was
because the people were up in arms because of increase in taxes.
Exactly.
People said if this bill comes to pass, then we will not have businesses, our jobs, everything. And that's why people were agitated. Not misinformation. Which misinformation though?
There was nothing. Because you see, they're saying, William Ruto was saying here, when people realized that the negativity surrounding the finance bill was based on fake news, they stopped. The demonstrations was fueled by misinformation, fake news and disinformation. I mean, all this information here and there, it really doesn't make sense. And saying here that Ruto emphasized that the protests were primarily driven by a lack of economic opportunities. He assured citizens that his administration is working on several projects to create jobs and help vulnerable populations. I mean, this has been the cry of so many people, and especially if the common mwananchi, the hustler, feels beaten by this government. It goes against what he said in his manifesto. And on top of that, saying that we are working around the clock to do this and that. We have been working around the clock for all
this time. 2 years.
It's now 2 years and we have nothing to show for it. And yet we were waiting for the first 100 days. So definitely, that's a story. Hatutasema mengi. That's a story on pay. We hatutaki kusalimia, you know. But anyway, moving on, I see Mbadi pushed on cut county funds. There's a story on page 6, and skepticism rife over new health scheme, page 13. The Financial Standard as well today will be looking at what is being reported on the same. And page 2, I see multi-defilement victim, 12 lives in fear, but police reluctant to act. Very, very sad. The man in his 40s had mastered her routine and would spot her playing with her friends. He was arrested but later released with police saying the case was dismissed in court. And this is a case of multi-defilement of one who is just 12 years old, multiple times.
Yeah.
And this person is just released just like that. I mean, what danger is he even being to other children of that age, and even that particular child herself? So I see we demand a removal or reshuffle of Corporal Viviana at the gender desk because she has been arrogant and threatening to arrest people who are following these cases. This is Daniel Odongo, the founder of Lifeguard. And this is very, very sad because, I mean, come on. And you're seeing here the mother even added that it is not easy for her daughter to confide in her. In the two instances, the girl first reported to her teachers. The mother said Marianne disclosed to her that the perpetrator befriended girls in that neighborhood. He would call girls to his car and drive around with them, she claimed. And this is the very person that has just been released and the court dismissed the case. This is very, very sad. And I see here, according to her father, the matter was reported at Soweto Police Station on September 2nd, 2024, and recorded his statement under OB number 33. And Marianne was deprived of her innocence in a painful and traumatic ordeal, but the universe still conspired to frustrate her pursuit for justice. We pray that the right people will really agitate for justice for this young girl. She's 12. I can only imagine the trauma that she is going through. Page 3, why 3.6 billion shillings fish census is more than counting fish. Walisema wanataka kupiga census ya fish.
Yeah.
Vijana wamepewa kazi. Okay. 1.6 billion shillings has been spent in the exercise that started in July this year. Experts say stock assessment is a fundamental tool for managing fisheries sustainably. This is very interesting. And for those who are wondering, what was that? 1.6 billion, a whole 1.6 billion to do that? What is even the importance? But I see here why. It is more than just counting fish. Experts are speaking. This is on page 3. I will not even go. You just go through it and you can learn. On the same. And Joho ndo alikuwa the front line to defend. You see, although Joho put on a brave face to defend the 1.6 billion shillings spent so far in the exercise that started in July this year, the total cost of the 3-phase fish stock assessment will actually be 3.6 billion.
Wow.
So that's how much money we are putting into counting fish as a nation at such a time as this. Yeah, that is on page 3. But anyway, going to page 6, I see Mbadi at pains to explain why counties will get 20 billion shilling less. So counties will get 380 billion instead of the agreed 400 billion. And the Treasury CS said projected revenue raised dropped significantly by 346 billion. Eddie Okech here saying it is immoral to give counties, it is immoral. It is immoral to give counties less funds than they had been allocated since they are already struggling. The Cabinet Secretary should tell us why the government has not honored the allocation for Equalization Fund to marginalized counties. And the Kenyans are asking, why is it that all this time we have not really seen significant change? And why is there inaitwa net worth going up by the years? The people also have questions. Page 7, Wavinya jets back, vows to crush cartels, tarnishing her name. Okay, she blamed her political opponents for manufacturing wild allegations for her arrest in UK over money laundering. That's a story on page 7. And on the Financial Standard today, public varsities at crossroads amid budget cuts and new funding model. I see operations at higher learning institutions at risk of grinding to a halt as state funding falls 60% and teaching staff threaten to down tools. And we have over 125,893 students who applied for funding in 2023, and 12,000 university students who appealed their band placement. 75 billion shillings is the public university's cumulative debt as of March 2024. That's on the Financial Standard. And going to the sports page, I see Mbappe bolstering holders Real Madrid's Champions League ambitions as action begins, and champions start defense of their title against German side Stuttgart today. Mbappe's arrival makes Los Blancos the most daunting team in the competition. And 47 says why it will be an uphill task for Kogalo and police in Cairo. Kenyan sides need more than a miracle to overturn the weekend deficits. Another poor outing for Kenyan clubs in continental action. Lastly, page 46, all eyes on Shujaa as new stars emerge from National 7 Circuit. National 7 Circuit have been feeding Shujaa every year, and Kenya Harlequin were crowned champions over the weekend. That's it for the Standard.
Right, let's check the Daily Nation quickly. Some other stories. 634 billion shillings Adani Power Lines deal signals costly electricity. This is India's Adani Group will be seeking 634.7 billion shillings from Kenyans over the next 30 years for building high voltage power transmission lines, setting the stage for an increase in electricity prices. Read that story on page 10. I also see fallout over Harambee for Raila AUC campaigns. It's on page 4. There is fallout over Harambee for Raila. Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary distances the Odinga campaign secretariat from the fundraising dinner event organized by a lobby called Friends of Baba Africa, founded by Jaoko Oburu. So it's on page 4. Then I see murders agony in landowners battle for 54 billion shillings Eastlands land. It's on page 12 inside the Nation, and over 50 people have lost their lives as rival factions clashed over the ownership of the land. I also see crisis looming in counties as deadlock over funding persists. Treasury's proposed 20 billion shillings cut in these fiscal years shareable revenue to devolved units a sticky issue. Minister says the government will not borrow money to give devolved units 400 billion shillings. It's on page 13. I think we continue to say we live within our means, so no one should be exempted from living within our means. The back page of the Nation, teachers want higher exams allowance. Examinations Council has been struggling to pay teachers due to inadequate budget allocations. Union wants members paid between 3,000 and 4,500 shillings to oversee examinations. You can read that. Remember, the KCSE is scheduled to begin on the 22nd of October. So you can read that. I also see some of the other stories. The DN2 powering SME, smart greenhouse for smallholder farmers. Read that. And then DN2 healthy nation, dangerous divide. And then from the counties, Imenti Forum faults Ruto over sacked state officers. Professional site Kinoti and former IG Koome among officials who have been dismissed. That is the county news. Nutrition improves as crop farming gains popularity. Crop farming is a novel concept for the pastoralists who have traditionally depended on livestock for their livelihood. All right. I see the business section. Meru Tea Factory blames low prices for bonus cut. I see also Energy Ministry engaging stakeholders on public-private partnership in the energy sector at Kawi Complex in Nairobi. Yesterday, police spending on fuel up 136% on demos and costs. The jump due to enhanced security operations between January and March 2024. And so fuel expenses by the National Police Service more than doubled to 1.038 billion in the financial year to June 2024. New disclosures showed on the back of increased operations to counter demonstrations and high commodity prices on a weak shilling. The international news, Trump safe after FBI foils fresh attempt on his life. White House says Biden-Harris relieved to know former president was out of danger. A suspect arrested after fleeing the scene in a vehicle, leaving behind 2 backpacks and an AK-47 style assault rifle. Right. Wanauliza Trump nini jameni? Right, sports pages. Death of athletes threatens Iten's home of altitude training status due to its high altitude and conducive climate. Iten is a popular training area for athletes. I also see Francis Nyatome, go-to man of Kenyan athletics, leaves big shoes. For 60 years, he served Kenyan athletics as race starter, public relations officer, museum curator, and team manager. And then I see Motsepe, Kenya must step up preparations to host CHAN next year. CAF boss inspects venues during two-day tour of the country. The tournament will act as a precursor for the 2027 AFCON set for Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And so you can read that. And the venues that CAF boss Patrice Motsepe inspected during his two-day tour in Kenya: Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani, Nyayo National Stadium, Talanta Stadium on Ngong Road. Going to the Business Daily, I see Gen Z protests. Treasury cuts tax target by 334 billion shillings. KRA expected to raise 2.96 trillion in the next financial year. 396 billion spending cuts to hit development projects. Then I see higher roads levy subsidy cut denies Kenyans relief at pump. This is despite the drop in landed costs of fuel. And Safaricom is eyeing revenue lift with 1 shillings by airtime option. So Safaricom customers can now purchase airtime as little as 1 shillings from the M-Pesa mobile wallets. That is the Business Daily.
All right, and we've come to the end of our newspaper review. Now we know, and we know how to pray as well.
Yep.
You can tune in to Hope FM at the top of every hour. We have news updates, and also right here on Hope TV, we'll be having more at 7 p.m. and also at 9 p.m. Right about now, it's time for us to have a look at the video of the day. And then when we come back, we'll talk about it even as we prepare and gear ourselves up for today's conversation.